Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of From the Chair, where inclusion matters. Tonight, our guest has not shown up yet, so we're just going to bebop it tonight and spin it up a little bit. Sorry, I won't do a spin routine, but maybe our host, who's been in the doghouse for the last couple of weeks from past guests, and hopefully maybe a future guest here in the next week. But we'll get into all that and more tonight. Let's talk about our first topic. Let's see. The WWE and their draft. They just got done doing their 2-day draft. They started last Friday with SmackDown and they just concluded it yesterday with Raw. Mr. Holt, how do you feel about the draft?
A lot of predictable moves, and the only one I'm really looking forward to is going to be who's the inaugural World Heavyweight Champion on Raw.
I have a tendency to agree. WWE is, again, yet predictable. And they're so predictable that all the picks actually put me to sleep. And why would you send up the NXT Tag Team Champions who aren't even going to relinquish their Tag Team Championships? That is stupid on their part. You know, the next part of this is the hottest superstar in NXT for the last year, Mr. Von Breakker, didn't even get drafted. That's a travesty. Didn't even get drafted. I think it's a conspiracy theory because of what his dad said against Giselle Shaw of Impact Wrestling. And before we get more on my opinion, I want to go back to you, Mr. Holt. What do you feel about that?
Big travesty because they're missing on the best pure wrestler to date.
I agree. I think our host has a lot to say too, but I'm not going to let him talk very much tonight because he takes over all the shows and thinks he's got such a hot little head that gets him into so much trouble sometimes. You know, he's picking on a woman who's an owner of her own company in Washington State. I mean, come on.
Hold on.
Who has the cojones to do that? Oh, yeah, that's right. Our host, Mr. Nathan Noss. But again, Mr. Nathan Noss may not get to speak very much on this podcast tonight at all, just because I'm in charge today. Not him, me.
I'm always in charge. First of all.
You think you're in charge. But anyway,
second of all,
let's get on to the next topic. Because Nathan's topics are irrelevant in this podcast tonight. His guest actually ghosted him tonight, which is the first time it's ever happened.
Well, he didn't just ghost me. You sent him a message too.
Yes, I understand that. But okay, so maybe I shouldn't be such an asshole executive producer. And maybe I should let our host have a few things to say. So, Mr. Host, don't start talking yet. You've got 1 minute. Go.
First of all, I got as long as I want. Second of all, unlike the last pick of the NFL draft, I am not Mr. Irrelevant. Thank you very much. Now, let's get to the topics you talked about. First of all, I agree with what you guys said about the draft. I think it could have been a lot better. There were some picks that I wasn't upset with. Like, I'm happy that Indus Sher's on Raw. because I think all three of them are better as a group than they are, as singles wrestlers. And yes, that includes Jinder Mahal. Um, and I'm happy that they finally are going to do something with Cameron Grimes. But the rest of it was very predictable and kind of boring. As far as Braun Breaker,
That's your minute. Sorry.
as far as Braun Breaker goes,
no, I said you only had a minute.
as far as Braun Breaker goes, shame on you, WWE. And I said the same thing with Jay Briscoe when it came to Time Warner and AEW. Shame on you, WWE, for punishing a person for what their parents do. Braun Breaker had nothing to do with what his dad did. I'm pretty sure he wasn't okay with what his dad did. But that's what his dad did, not what he did. So why is he getting punished for something his dad did? You, as WWE, should know how to capitalize on somebody when they're as Tony said, when they're the hottest act that you have in NXT, and yes, he still is the hottest act in NXT, even though Carmelo Hayes is the champion. There is no way he should not have been drafted to either Raw or SmackDown. And as far as the women's tag team championships, I agree on that one too. That was completely short-sighted, especially tonight when they didn't have. Well, they were in a no-win situation tonight because either way they would have went, unless they would have added an extra team in there, the tag titles still would have went up to the main roster.
Yep.
They should have done what Indy Hartwell did and had Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, like maybe sacrifice the women's tag championships in a fire or something and like melt them down. And then they come up with different ones in a tournament for whoever the new champion would be. That way it stays with their character. It gets the titles off of them. And you have a tournament or, maybe a fatal four-way for whoever the champion is.
I still think they're going to do something with Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, and may pair them up with another female wrestler on SmackDown to counter Damage Control.
Possibly, but I don't know, because who would you pair him up with?
The only one I could think of would be Shotzi.
Possibly. Shotzi can play a crazy character, but she's a face right now.
Yeah. But let's dig into this even further. Again, let's go back to the WWE draft. We already know there's been one certain superstar that's been under contract since November of last year, since he got put to death on Impact Wrestling.
Yes.
And there was no mention of this guy on either brand.
No, there wasn't.
Why?
Exactly.
And let's take it a step further. We know Matt Cardona, always ready. Matt Cardona is a free agent and probably heading to WWE. Where was his mention?
Nowhere. Now I could see, playing off of what Tony just said, I could see Eric Young going to SmackDown and maybe forming like a new like dark group with maybe Alba Fire and Isla Dawn.
But again, going off what Tony said, there were another two that were not mentioned in the draft at all.
Other than Eric Young and Matt Cardona?
Yep. And Andrade.
Andrade's at AEW.
Andrade's
at AEW.
I read somewhere that he wants out of AEW.
He wants out of AEW, but he's still under contract with AEW.
Right. But no, the two that I'm mentioning, one hasn't been seen since the Royal Rumble.
Okay, who's that?
Well, they both haven't been seen since the Royal Rumble.
Okay, and who are they?
Alexa Bliss and Bray.
Bray Wyatt has
I know.
mental issues.
I know.
He's on leave. Alexa Bliss had skin cancer and is still recovering.
Yep.
So those ones make sense. Plus, they just hired a new writer for Bray Wyatt, so there's a good chance that he might be heading back relatively soon.
Yes. And rumor has it that he's not coming alone.
Yeah, it's rumored that Alexa Bliss is coming back with him.
No, he's not coming alone.
Oh, that's right. Bo's
already under contract.
Yeah.
Not Eric.
Eric Redbeard.
Eric Redbeard.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be happy when those two get back together.
So that's the news I've been hearing.
Tony and I were talking about this earlier today, Pat. You brought up the NWO yesterday before we did our interview with Chad, which, by the way, was a great interview, and everybody should go check it out. Speaking of Eric Young, because I said that I didn't think that LA Knight would be a good leader for the NWO, and I firmly believe that. But I do think that Eric Young would be a good leader for the NWO.
Yep. And believe it or not, that was one of the ones I couldn't remember.
And I think he could turn the NWO into something we haven't seen before.
Dummy,
Touche.
My button's back.
Because here's why I say that. The NWO was always like a renegade group, right? That would destroy everybody they came in contact with. Excluding WWE's version in 2002, which was primarily a joke.
But the only reason behind that was to set up a match between Rock and Hogan.
No, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about after that when they had Shawn Michaels and X-Pac and Booker T and the Big Show.
dummy,
Yeah, I can see that getting annoying really quickly. So, I mean, they were a renegade group that would just destroy everybody and wouldn't care, right? I don't want to see that again. We saw that with Revolution. And we saw that, with a bunch of the other factions. I want to see the NWO still have that kind of tendency where they can destroy everybody, but have a little bit of the psychotic side that Eric Young could bring to it.
Good point.
Speaking of LA Knight, though, there has been a lot of rumors that LA Knight's the front runner to win the Money in the Bank.
I can see it.
Dummy. Yeah.
And before we get too far, I want to say congratulations to. I want to say congratulations to Corey Graves.
Dummy. Yeah.
I was waiting for it. I want to say congratulations to Corey Graves and Carmella, with Carmella being pregnant and their baby being due in November. Now let's talk about ESPN for a minute, because I heard something today that I kind of want to bring up. There was a columnist from ESPN that said that AEW would only be able to sell 40,000 seats in Wembley Stadium, which that's an 80,000 seat stadium. Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Columnist. On their first day, they sold 35,000 tickets. So I don't know if you got your degree in journalism from the Pee Wee Herman School or what, but you need to recheck your figures, because if they sold 35,000 on the first day, they're probably going to get pretty close to selling that thing out. What's your thoughts, Pat?
I could see it happening, but I also could see some seats left open.
Yeah, but I think it was kind of short-sighted for that reporter to only say they were going to sell 40,000. I mean, obviously he did that without checking his facts on how popular AEW was or is. So, how long do you think? Because we know he didn't come up with a draft, but how long do you think it is going to be before Braun Breaker finally gets moved up to the main roster?
I'd say by SummerSlam.
Thank you to our one viewer tonight who's joining us, by the way, too.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if it's going to be up at SummerSlam, because if it's up at SummerSlam, why wouldn't they have already done? Why didn't they just do it at the draft? Because SummerSlam's in August.
Because by then, his feud with Carmelo will be over.
Well, it's not so much. I don't think it's like Tony and I brought up before. I don't think it's about his feud with Carmelo Hayes. I think it's because his dad said that at the convention to Giselle Shaw.
Yep, I am. Well, I'll be back on Sunday, so. All right. Good night.
And I agree with that too. I mean, if they weren't going to bring him up now, it's not going to be a SummerSlam either. I think they're going to punish him much like they punished the Briscoes on live TV. And unfortunately, like I said, it was a travesty that Mark and Jay didn't get to make AEW or WWE before Jay's passing. That was a very bad travesty, and a lot of our indie wrestlers that we interview say that tag team was probably one of their favorites because they were in the indies for so long.
Yes.
Sorry I'm not with it all the way tonight. I'm maybe trying to get you guys a guest analyst.
It's all right. Any hints on who that might be?
Hancock is up right now.
Not at this moment. I'm not gonna reveal any information. It's on a need to know, and right now, Mr. Host, you don't need to know.
Wow. I do have to give the wrestling journalism community credit on one thing. Most of the time, when somebody's been released or something's going to happen, right? Because it's spread out to the whole dirt sheets and everybody knows like months in advance or weeks in advance. Nobody knew about Roderick Strong getting first of all, getting his release from WWE, let alone signing with AEW. I am actually happy with that, though, because I think Roderick Strong is going to do so much bigger things than he ever did in WWE.
Yeah, that
Because
Diamond Mine and the little faction wasn't all that great.
No, and I mean, yeah, he did some great stuff with the Undisputed Era. But I think, like Tony had mentioned in a previous podcast, I think they're going to reform a version of the Undisputed Era in AEW. I mean, I don't know if Bobby Fish is going to end up back in AEW because I don't think he had the best experience there the first time. But again, I think there's so much young talent in AEW. I think that they can sell like a new version of the Undisputed Era. Like, here's an option for you. For that new version of the Undisputed Era. It's a guy that used to be used all the time when Cody was there. And now he's kind of fallen off the face of the earth, but he's still under contract with AEW. And that's Lee Johnson. I mean, I know he was part of the Factory, but...
Factory's no more, though.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So, what better way to kind of put him back on the map than to put him with Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly when he comes back and reform a new version of the Undisputed Era? I mean, obviously they'd have to have a different name, but because to the best of my knowledge, I think WWE still owns the trademark to Undisputed Era.
Yes, they do. So, in the, I always like to know who our guests are. So, identify yourself, Mr. Guest. Who's joining us tonight, or Miss Guest?
Yes, who's viewing us tonight? Just leave a comment in the comment section.
Well, we have a shy viewer.
Yes. And that's completely fine. We just like to interact with our viewers, so
They must not like the host.
now that's not nice to say about Pat. Oh, you said host, not co-host. Hey,
And ladies and gentlemen, he just now caught it. But to be fair, our host thought the guest yesterday was confirming, and it was actually his calendar confirming with him that he had an appointment at 6:00 last night.
to be fair, I did not know that the calendar did that. So what do you guys think about my idea for the Undisputed Era?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. I was talking to a guest analyst.
So I said it would be interesting if they put Lee Johnson with Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, and Roderick Strong when Kyle O'Reilly comes back, and reform a newer version of the Undisputed Era. I mean, obviously under a different name. Pat, what do you think?
You never know.
I could see it. But I could also see them finding someone with power.
Pause for a few minutes, okay?
Like who?
I don't know yet.
Well, if you think about the old Undisputed Era, if they're keeping in that same vein, the Undisputed Era didn't have a guy that really had a lot of power. They all had great technical skills, but they didn't.
However, after watching Roderick Strong do pretty much power slam Hager, they don't need a strong guy.
Well, yes, you're right. But to be fair, a power slam's primarily about leverage more than it is power.
On a different topic, back to the draft. Mr. Executive Producer, what do you think of our illustrious host's Andre the Giant Battle Royal pick not being drafted?
No words, just
Sounded like a really, really, really hurt hyena.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking of Dolph Ziggler.
Well, I mean, I think it happened because there's two reasons that could have happened. One, WWE and Triple H and maybe Hitler 2.0, or at least that's what he looks like in that mustache, meaning Vince McMahon, doesn't know what to do with Dolph Ziggler. Or
words for Brock and Cody.
Or they're waiting for Robert Roode to come back off of his injury, and then they're going to bring back the Dirty Dogs.
Yeah, but Robert Roode has a long ways to go. He had surgery on his neck.
Yes, he had fusion surgery quite a while ago.
but we're not sure if that's what the moms.
To be fair, Robert Roode hasn't been the same since he left TNA.
No.
So, you know, the big free agents that are out there, Lesnar, Almost, or
Well, would you really call Lesnar a free agent since he negotiated to be on both shows?
well, what if Almost does the same thing?
It's a valid point.
I mean, and to be fair, just think about it. Didn't Benjamin and Alexander not get drafted either?
Yes, they're free agents also. You know, Ango said something the other day right after the draft that I agree with. I would like to see the WWE draft be more like the NFL draft. In the sense of, like, you know how when the NFL draft happens, they have, like, Mel Kiper Jr. and all them, like, giving you their opinions on, you know, how this person could help this team, or, you know, why this person got drafted by this team. I think it would add so much to the WWE draft if WWE had the same thing.
Yeah, I guess one of the security guards for the Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes segment on Monday Night Raw was Mr. Manny Lemons out of Colorado.
Oh, nice. I don't remember. Do we have him on the calendar?
No, he's another one that has not ever confirmed to be on the show yet either. He's one of two people that I really want to get that I have not had any luck getting yet.
I don't know. I'm gonna watch Backlash, but other than the Brock Cody match, it doesn't feel like there's a lot really to get excited about. Like maybe the Bad Bunny Damian Priest match, but I mean, is there any other matches that you guys are like excited about going into Backlash?
The only other match I want to see go down, and it's just, I don't know if it's just me, but I want to see what happens with that 6-man.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I did hear a rumor that Randy Orton's close to coming back. Like, that they had gotten the wrong report on his back injury, and, you know, it's actually healing quicker than what they thought. And that's why Matt Riddle in those interviews with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn has made those subtle references to Randy.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a rumor going around today that hello, Michelle Martinez. Thank you for watching.
Anyways, you were saying about Randy Orton.
There was a rumor going around that he might show up at Backlash in that 6-man.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking too. Orton comes back, or at least his music hits, distracts.
But I'm sorry, continue.
Distracts one, most likely Solo. He goes to intercept, and Widow, Sane, and Owens gets the win over the Usos and Solo.
But didn't they
And
already
there's-
do that?
And there's the falling out right there.
Well,
That-
I mean, is anybody else surprised but me that they kept the entire bloodline on the same show?
Nope, I was not surprised.
Oh, apparently Michelle Martinez heard that Randy Orton's coming back at Night of Champions. Which could be a possibility. They always like to have their biggest stars in Saudi Arabia.
So are we gonna get rid of the genies?
That's another good point, Michelle.
Yep.
He could come back at Night of Champs and go after Roman.
That is a good point because they were supposed to have a match at SummerSlam right before Orton got hurt. That match that Roman had with Brock at SummerSlam was supposed to be Randy Orton.
So I could see that happening. And that's another good point.
It's possible, but Fightful Direct Set asked if AJ Styles was going to be in against Roman Reigns, and they were told that he wasn't anywhere close. But then again, WWE's been known to change their mind with AJ Styles at the drop of a hat.
Yep.
No, I've
I mean,
heard this.
look-
I've heard the same thing. AJ versus Roman. That's Roman Reigns' next challenger, is what I've heard. And I heard for the world title on Raw, it's going to be Seth versus Cody.
Yeah, that's the one I heard for the world title too. But here's the question: do you have Cody win the world title, or do you have Cody go on a small losing streak so that way he can, in the fans' eyes, build himself back up to Roman?
I have to agree with Seth Rollins what he said to Heyman. He is the only one that's ever beaten Roman Reigns.
Well, that is true. That's only because Roman got himself disqualified. But I kind of agree with what Michelle said that it is possible that Cody could wait till next year's WrestleMania, which I've also heard that rumor also, that he goes and wins the Royal Rumble and then goes to WrestleMania and beats Roman.
Hey Nathan, your real boss is here.
Trey's here?
Yeah, you're real bosses here.
No crying. I don't want to be fired. Wow, that's impressive. She knows people that works in WWE.
Well, if she knows people that work at WWE, Mr. Hose, maybe you should ask her your questions and your concerns on the people.
What, you mean on the draft?
Well, and much of the other stuff, like what up with EY?
Yeah, that is a good question. Why? I mean, not long after he got killed off on Impact, you had Eric. It came out that he signed with WWE, but where's he at? I mean, you haven't seen any videos for him. You haven't, heard anything about him other than the rumor that I heard that possibly when Bray brought back the Firefly Funhouse that one time, that Eric Young was the voice. She said she's Eddie's cousin. But anyway, the rumor I heard was that the voice from the Firefly Funhouse from the TV was Eric Young. But that's all you really heard. So I mean, what are they waiting on? He's been off impacted and reportedly signed to WWE for a very long time. The other one is, what about Matt Cardona? There's been rumors about him for months now, especially since yes, Wyatt's dealing with an injury. And maybe you're right. Maybe that's why they haven't brought Eric Young in yet. Maybe they have something to do. Both of them have something to do together. But I mean, you could at least have EY do something in the interval, maybe with like Nikki Cross, since you have her doing absolutely nothing, except for maybe that stalker thing with Candice LeRae. And another question I have is, I know everybody says that Triple H is in charge and that he's making all the decisions. But seriously, does anybody really believe that? Like that Vince McMahon still isn't pulling the strings on some level? Unfortunately, I don't like to disagree with the people in the comment section, but it's like we've said to our friend Matt numerous times on this podcast. I 100% don't believe that Dean Ambrose is coming back to the WWE. I think he has too much freedom, and he's having way too much fun in AEW.
Now, I saw a thing on oh, I can't remember where I saw it, but it showed a list of 10 wrestlers that are not allowed back in the WWE. And 2 of them, I have to agree with Nathan on this. I disagree with, sometimes I have to disagree with our viewers. 2 of the wrestlers that won't be allowed back in the WWE is unfortunately going to be Dean Ambrose and CM Punk.
Okay. Dean Ambrose, I agree with. CM Punk, I would have said 100% yes up until this last week when he had such a warm reaction backstage when he showed up on Raw. And from what I understand, Triple H and him were supposed to have a meeting until Vince McMahon called Triple H and told Triple H to have Punk kicked out. I don't think it's a strong possibility, but I do think there's a slim possibility that CM Punk can go back to WWE.
Yes, I can see Triple H and CM Punk talking and trying to work things out, but I really believe Vince McMahon does not want him back.
Well, I agree with that, and the only way I can see them coming to an agreement is if Vince stays out of it. Now, I don't know if he would do that, and his
I know,
track record would say that he wouldn't.
That's the only problem. Is would Vince McMahon stay out of it?
Papa.
Hi, little man.
Look at him. Oh, he's gonna get fussy.
That's right. That's right. Say it. Say it.
No, hey, buddy.
Say it. That's it. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, okay, yes, I understand that Vince McMahon might not be on TV, and he might not be,
The owner
always at the back. But
I agree with
I
you.
still say he's got something to do with the company.
It's
I just
agree
the
with
way
you,
his
Nathan.
personality is. He's
I-
too much of a control freak to.
He can't let go. Even though Endeavor owns the company now,
Yes, he
I
sold
still
the
think they
UFC.
got- I believe UFC and Endeavor has Vince McMahon pulling some strings in the WWE.
Well, of course they do. The guy that runs Endeavor made Vince McMahon the CEO again. And I think Vince McMahon had this in mind the whole time. He knew that if he went under the ruse, and that's why they're being sued so much, of only being back to sue the company, he could find somebody that would give him the power back, which is what happened with the guy that runs UFC. So that now he's back in the company, and there's really nothing anybody can do about it once the merger happens.
Right.
They talk about masters in chess all the time, and as much as I hate to say it, McMahon played a masterful game of chess in that move.
Yes, he did.
Because he knew that nobody would let him back in just by him being the owner again of WWE. So he knew he had to play an angle like a pawn in chess and be able to move that piece around till he got what he wanted. And it worked.
Oh, I agree.
Well, I'd like to take this first time for our host to thank our first sponsor.
Yes, we want to say thank you to the CARE program, which stands for Community Action Reaching Everybody. And if you want to get a hold of her, you can get a hold of Becky Bernhardt on Facebook.
You guys are doing some pretty good interacting tonight, but again, Mr. Hoster, you still haven't learned. You never fight with your guests, and your guests just happen to be in the panel tonight.
What?
You never know who is watching on this podcast.
And technically, it's not fighting; it's just sharing differing opinions.
Potato.
So, what do you mean he's on the panel or she's on the panel? That would mean they're coming on the show.
Like I said, I'm the executive producer. I know all. I see all.
Now that's cool.
That is actually really cool.
That is cool. Now, are we talking like full polka dots? Because that would be even cooler. So, but speaking of Rhodes, I want to see Cody beat Brock, but I don't know if they're gonna do that.
I really believe that there's going to be some form of help against Brock for Cody. I don't know who.
I was gonna say, who would help Cody against?
Who did Brock low blow at the Rumble?
Oh.
Yeah, I can see Brock winning. I just the way they built up the whole feud so far, with Cody kind of losing his mind a little bit. I think he's gonna play more the emotional angle and try to charge at Brock. And we all know what happens when you try to charge it at Brock Lesnar during a match.
But again, who was it that Brock low blowed and got DQ'd at the Rumble?
Lashley?
Bingo. I could see Lashley assisting Cody. Because if you look back at Impact, Cody and Lashley had a thing going on in Impact.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we could probably put your friend on that dresses like Dusty Rhodes at some point.
We'd love to. Hold on a second. I got to take this.
We definitely will let you know.
Yep.
But to answer your question about Bobby Lashley, why would Bobby Lashley go against Brock Lesnar when the rumor is that it might be Bobby Lashley that challenges Roman Reigns next for the Undisputed Championship?
If you remember, Brock Lesnar cannot go for that title as long as Roman has it. If Bobby Lashley helps Cody win, that sets up a future feud between Lashley and Brock for when Bobby Lashley beats Roman. If Lashley beats Roman. And that sets up the undisputed Universal title match between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. And I agree with Michelle. I do not see Lashley or Bronson Reed, as much as I like Bronson, I see Austin Theory retaining his title. That's why it sets up for the Cody and Brock match, where, like I said, Bobby comes out, referee's distracted, Bobby Lashley hits Brock with the low blow, Cody picks up the win.
But okay, I can see that happening, and yes, I can see Austin Theory winning so that way the United States title stays on SmackDown, since Gunther's on Raw. But if you have Bobby Lashley, low blow, yes, I'll add you as a friend when we get done with the podcast.
Go ahead. You were saying?
If you have Bobby Lashley help Cody Rhodes win, what's that? How is that gonna help Cody, right? In the fans' eyes, if you're really wanting Cody to be like a contender for the championship again, right? Then why would having Bobby Lashley? I mean, I get the logic behind the story. You know, Lashley would want his revenge and that kind of stuff. But why would how would that help Cody? I guess is my question. Because if you're WWE, that could. Yeah, you're right. They did have a fight already, and I think that's what Pat was bringing up earlier. But I just don't see how that would help Cody, because it would give the fans the indication that now, after losing to Roman, that Cody needs Lashley's help to beat Lesnar.
Because maybe they're trying to set Cody up with a faction. And
with who?
And that's the thing. He's mentioned Matt.
Yeah, which that would be Matt Cardona.
Yep. I see, and Michelle, I actually see a fatal four-way for that title.
And I have a dark horse for that was brought up on a podcast that I watched, a YouTube thing I watched earlier. A dark horse to me for the the WWE Heavyweight Championship on Raw is Damian Priest.
Mm-hmm. However, I have to disagree with you, Nathan. I don't see Damian going after that title right now. And here's the reason. I see in the Fatal 4-Way, I see it being Seth Rollins versus McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor.
Here's why I disagree with that. And you're right, it could be that way, but here's why I disagree with that. Because think about this. Who's been the mouthpiece for the Judgment Day lately? Outside of Rhea Ripley.
That's easy.
It hasn't exactly. It hasn't been Finn Balor.
But again, Damian Priest has not made any intentions that he wants it. Finn Balor has.
Yes, but it would be really easy, especially if Damian Priest beats Bad Bunny
And then
at Backlash.
And now here's my other opinion on that. What if, because of political reasons, Owens and Zayn will not be going to Night of Champions?
Well, I think they're gonna. Otherwise, they would have given the Usos the titles.
Maybe,
Michelle, that's a good point. It could be somebody from NXT.
Nathan,
What?
I see Zayn and Owens losing the tag titles to the Judgment Day. Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio.
No, I think, you could be right, but I think Damian's ready for a singles championship again.
And yet again, he could be taking it from Imperium. He could take the IC title from Gunther because Damian Priest has not held the Intercontinental title yet.
Well, that's true.
He's only held the United States title. I could see Damian Priest. I could see one or two options at before Night of Champions. Damian Priest and Dominic takes the tag titles. They go to Night of Champions, defend it against another tag team. Or I see Damian Priest going to Night of Champions and beating Gunther.
Yeah. Michelle said that she thinks that the new champ, that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to lose it to the New Day.
Yeah, that's a
Ladies and
possibility too.
ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. We have Miss Pandemonium in the chat tonight.
Yes. And she said that would be a good match of big dudes.
But again, I have to go back to that a possible fatal 4-way at Night of Champions. I have to agree with Michelle. It's going to be Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre.
And you're probably right, because Seth Rollins is really over right now.
Yeah.
But I think that Damian Priest is going to be in that fatal 4-way if they go that way.
But again, I have to disagree with Damian Priest because he's the only one that could dethrone Gunther.
There's a lot of people on Raw that could dethrone.
However, I could be wrong. What about Bronson Reed against Gunther?
See, well, yes, but most promoters don't like to do a heel versus heel like title matches. unless you do a 180 and turn Bronson Reed face, which is still a possibility.
Yeah.
But I really think that Damian Priest is ready for a main event run.
But I have to disagree. Yes, he would. He's going to be a main event status here soon. I just don't think it's now.
See, but I think Damian Priest, or Punishment Martinez, as he used to be known on the Indies, has been ready for a main event run for a long time. I mean,
I
in
agree. I agree with
Ring
Nathan.
in Ring of Honor, for God's sakes, the guy was managed by Kevin Sullivan. And for all his faults, if you catch the eye of somebody like Kevin Sullivan, there's something in you that people need to pay attention to.
But you know, in my personal opinion, I think a woman needs to dethrone Gunther.
I'm probably setting myself up for this one, but who would you say?
Well, I don't think there's anybody in the WWE right now, woman wise, that could probably dethrone Gunther. Well, I can't say that. There might be one or two. But
Are you talking about the Red Rock Rumble champion?
I'm talking about the one and only Red Rock Rumble champion.
Yes, which would be Pandemonium, which is exactly who I thought you were talking about. But I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, you better not, because remember, she's watching you.
Now,
She would think of faster, smaller. Okay, well then maybe somebody like Bianca.
Well, she always says she's the best. I mean, she's the S. So, I mean, what better way to prove you're the best than to be Gunther, right? Especially if, like, Gunther goes into that match as overconfident. You know what I mean? If he goes into that, be like, man, no, Bianca can't beat me.
I could see another person, if WWE would give him a chance, I could see him coming in and dethroning Gunther in a heartbeat.
Ooh. I like Panda's choice, which would be Rhea Ripley.
But again, I could see this guy coming in and just totally taking the title from Gunther. And I don't know how I'm going to get a reaction out of this, so I'm just going to have Flower say his name. Falabala. Or Falaba.
Falaba?
Yeah.
Well, that's possible. I mean, right now he's wrestling in 907 in Alaska. And Panda, don't sell yourself short. Anybody that can eliminate Killian Crow in the Red Rock Rumble could probably be anybody she puts her mind to.
Yep. Now, I just thought of this, and this would be an awesome match if it could happen. I would actually pick Pandemonium against a second generation wrestler, and I would literally put my money on Pandemonium for this versus the Queen of Diamonds, or not the Queen. The Queen Charlotte Flair is who I'm talking about.
Yes, and for the fans who don't know, Mr. Killian Crow, the man she eliminated to win that the Red Rock Rumble Championship was 6'2", 240 pounds.
And ladies and gentlemen, if I can, how she eliminated him was very HBK like. The 1 foot
Yes.
down, the 1 foot up, and Killian goes over, both feet touch, Panda wins. Yes, I do watch my matches.
And Panda, I watched the post-match thing, and that belt looked very good on your shoulder, by the way. Although there's a good chance that at Headlocks for Hospice, Panda's gonna have 2 belts, one for each shoulder.
Yes, my money at Headlocks for cancer is also
Hospice.
for hospice is also Miss Panda.
And I'm in an agreement with for Panda.
Although don't get me wrong, Taya is a phenomenal wrestler herself. And we know that match is in June, but hey, if you do win that title, let us know because we want to bring you back on as a champion, you know?
Yes.
So I know Panda's only on like round 2 or 3 of the second day of the draft, but you know, it's not really worth watching the rest of it because it's WWE and it's very, very predictable.
He's right on that one.
But you know, while I've got a second, let's go into some upcoming shows. So in case Miss Panda wants to come in and enjoy any of these shows in the next little bit while she's training for that match with Taya, tomorrow we actually have 2 interviews, one at 3 in the afternoon, and that is with Miss Brittany Brooks.
Yes.
Who I hear has a lot of great matches with SOS, I do believe.
And from what we hear, can kick like nobody's business.
And then our next interview is with Chongo Bronson at 6 p.m., and that's all tomorrow. On Thursday, we have a wrestling promotion that a dear friend of ours and I believe the trainer of Gypsy Mac, who still has yet to contact me for an interview on this podcast, Below Zero Wrestling.
Yes.
And then we have another referee on Friday. And that interview is at 6:30.
And who would that referee be?
Brad Lee.
Yes. I've seen Bradley in quite a few matches lately. Last one I saw was him with the guy we interviewed a little while back, which was Flex. Malcolm Flex.
Malcolm Flex, yes. And then on Saturday, we don't really have a show, but if there's anybody that would like to come on and do a special co-hosting show, we might be able to do that. Sunday,
yes.
Miss Panda, we have your boss and a very good friend of mine, and probably a very good friend of Pat's, but Nathan just doesn't understand how to sit down and let him take off his robe for those lovely ladies, Mr. Randy Rude.
Good friend of yours, huh? Is that why you cut the feed last time we were in the car?
Hey, to be honest, it's not like Zoom to where I can just get out of the car and still be and everything still live. I'm still getting used to StreamYard. And then, of course, on Monday, it's my favorite day. It's the winner of the Red Rock Rumble, and it's Miss Pandemonium Day. So Monday the 8th is Miss Pandemonium Day. And then followed by, on the 9th, a Brandon Turner. And then, hey, Panda, on the 10th, you might want to join in because we're interviewing, dude, I got beat by a girl at the Red Rock Rumble. And Mr. Host, that better be your very first question. How'd it feel getting beat by a girl at the Red Rock Rumble?
That will be one of my first questions, yes.
Because I think it's extremely funny. And then after Killian is probably another one of my favorite interviews that I'm looking forward to. And I don't know if Miss Panda's been in when this gentleman's been in the chats with us or not, but Mr. Big Money Dodge.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that one also, now that I'm not a forehead anymore and he can actually see my face.
Yes,
Yeah, he still has a big old stock in this podcast.
So anybody out there in the California area or wants to get into the California area that wants a great manager, Big Money Dodge. You can't go wrong with Big Money Dodge.
Nope.
Just to make sure you have somebody else give you money, because I don't think you can spend Monopoly money.
Again, you're just jealous because he has all that money.
The only way he gets money is to play Monopoly with his grandma, and he keeps passing go all the time and getting $200.
Mr. Host, can I get through the rest of my calendar, please, before you interrupt?
I don't know, can you?
And he's in the doghouse.
On the 12th, we have Mr. Cam Drexel. On the 14th, I'm going to butcher his last name, but it's Ray Schwartek. On the 15th, we have Scarlet Rose. So anybody that wants to come in for some good interviews, yes,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Host. Did you have a question?
Yes, you gonna let me back in yet?
No, but thanks for asking. But so that's the next couple of weeks full of interviews. I'll be nice and let the host back in. But let's take that for a minute. Miss Panda is only 5'4", and ladies and gentlemen, she threw out a dude that was 6'2", 240 pounds.
Extremely impressive.
Very, very, very impressive.
Yep.
And we'll talk more to Miss Panda about that feat on Monday. It's probably one of the biggest days that I've been waiting for since we started this podcast. I've waited. Very true. She put all of her weight into it and used math and science. And the laws of physics. Big man over top rope always hits floor first.
Mm-hmm. And most of the time, very hard.
And as the old saying goes, it doesn't matter how big you are. A smaller man can always outdo a big man.
Yeah, I would like to have a rebuttal to what you said about the people looking for a manager in California, because I know a manager.
He knows a manager in California who's actually a sleazeball attorney. I mean, come on.
No, that's Triple M, the best attorney / manager in the wrestling business.
Anyways, moving on. Why don't we talk about something here that's relevant? You know, the draft. You know, and try to help Miss Panda understand why WWE is just so predictable. You know, I for one was hoping that Eric Young would have been in the draft. I for one would have hoping that Matt Cardona would have been in the draft. I for one would have thought they would have brought up Braun Breaker, but that's a different story for a different time. Only because he's being punished by what his daddy said.
To me, that
Which I do not condone what Rick Steiner said at all, because it was still wrong, but it was Rick Steiner that said it, not his son.
Exactly.
You know, it's kind of like Mark and Jay Briscoe, God rest Jay's soul. You know. But, you know, they kept him out of primetime TV far too long, and it took Jay's passing to get the Briscoes. I'm gonna still say the Briscoes because Jay's there beside Mark every step of the way.
Yep.
Yes.
You know, but I mean, it took somebody dying for them to finally get them on national TV. And for anybody that watches this podcast knows, the Briscoes is one of my ultimate favorite tag teams.
That is true.
Top 5. Not top 3, but top 5.
And I have to agree with the executive producer. Mark and Jay Briscoe is in my top 5.
Yes, but they're probably in your top 3, but they're not in my top 3.
They're in my top 3.
No,
Well,
they're
yes,
in my top 4.
Because you don't know talent. Well, I can't say that. I mean, and the only reason I say Mark and Jay aren't in my top 3 is for one reason. They didn't get any exposure on AEW or WWE like the other ones have.
See, and that's why they're on my top 3. When you can make a mark on the wrestling business without getting that type of exposure to the point where everybody in the world knows who you are, that to me puts them in the top 3 of greatest tag teams of all time.
True. To some people.
I still would say the Mark and Jay are in my top 4.
But
Not to mention,
I will always live and die with. Well, actually, okay, I guess I would say they're in my top 3. Maybe I would actually say that because it would be Hardys, Bucks, Briscoes, then Dudleys. And that's my 2 cents on this. That's my facts, and you can rebut if you want, but be careful, Mr. Host, because you may not like if you rebut.
Mine would be.
My question is what? No Road Warriors?
They're 5.
Mine would
I
be.
can see that actually.
Mine would be Bucks, FTR, Briscoes, World Warriors, and Dudleys.
Mine would be Power and Glory.
You're irrelevant. Goodbye. Okay, you're back.
The Road Warriors would be my number 4. The Hardys would be my number 3. No, wait, sorry. The Rockers would be my number 3.
Ooh, good choice.
The Hardys would be my number 2. And the Briscoes would be my number 1.
To each their own, but, you know. Mark and Jay, you know, they were a great tag team. Unfortunately, Mark will never tag again with anybody, which is really sad. But, you know, moving on, because I don't want to sound like a bunch of grumpy old men. Ms. Panda has been watching a lot of these episodes and learning our questions. So she's taking this like training and preparing for her interview on Monday. So there shouldn't be any questions that she shouldn't that you guys should ask that she won't know that's coming.
Yeah, that makes it intriguing.
Makes it very intriguing. It just means I'll have to come up with those famous mystery questions that she likes.
So is it gonna be one of those questions where she starts finishing Pat and I's sentences because she knows the questions?
That would be kind of funny. Work fries my brain, so I have to prepare myself. You'll be fine. As you can see with most of our interviews, they're actually fun, laid back, and Miss Panda also does something outside of her normal 9-to-5 job and her wrestling that's very near and dear to all three of our hearts.
Yes.
And we'll get into that a little bit more on Monday also, because we've been talking a little bit about the episode and everything on Monday. So we'll get into a little bit of that too with her love of Special Olympics, which again, Miss Panda, thank you very much for that. It's a cause that's near and dear to my heart and to both the host and the co-host. I don't know if you knew this or not, but they're both actually Special Olympics athletes. And I actually coach Special Olympics. So I didn't know if that was ever brought up. And I've got a son who's also autistic. So I've got a son that's an athlete as well. But we'll get into more on that on like Monday as well. So lots and lots of fun interviews with Miss Panda on Monday and some Special Olympics questions as well.
Yes, very much looking forward to that interview.
And hopefully one of these days, Miss Gypsy Mac will see how much fun we've had interviewing her friends, and she'll want to come on this podcast too.
Yes.
And I was actually talking to Miss Panda on Messenger while you guys were starting this podcast, and this is why she's here tonight. One of these days, I'm going to invite her into the square and actually let her be a special guest co-host to one of your
anytime.
Guys. So,
Agreed. Anytime.
But so tune in with the rest of this week for hopefully some interviews. Like I said, that's fine. I'm used to it. I mean, I work with a bunch of clowns anyway. I mean, come on.
Well, I have been hit in the face with a pie before, so I mean I do have some experience in that field. So
But
But
I'm not gonna say what happened to me one time.
the only problem was the person that hit me in the face with the pie was my mom. So
So if you can remember back to WrestleMania, and this is not a question for the host, but how many matches? How many matches did y'all get right at WrestleMania? I remember mine. I think I went like 10-4 or something like that. I think I had a good WrestleMania.
I think I believe I was 9-4 or 9-5, Tony.
Yeah, I think I had a pretty good WrestleMania. You know what our host had? A 500. That's right. He went 7 for 7.
Dolph Ziggler did me in.
And yeah, he's a free agent right now.
I made the cardinal sin of not seeing who was on a battle royal before I made my pick.
You knew Lashley was going to be in the Battle Royal, too. That's why I'm surprised you went with Ziggler.
I didn't know who was going to be in the battle royal till like the day before, but I'd already made the pick then.
But anyways, not a big deal.
And
Yeah,
Mr.
you're not the one that has to wear the dress to the Mariners game.
No,
unfortunately, did I call it or did I not call it? It was going to come down to Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley.
Yes, but at the time that you called it, you knew who was in the battle royal.
But here's another important little piece of tidbit. I would never piss off a woman owner and just call her a promoter.
This is true.
Hey, I do who pays me, and Team Jeff paid me.
And just remember, I think Miss Panda might have something to say about that on Monday too. So,
besides, I still stand by my statement that if you say
you did not, and neither did the host.
I didn't predict Rousey and Shayna.
Yes, I did. That was the one I got right.
Oh, yes.
It was me that did not predict it correctly, Tony.
Oh, that's right.
Because I had went with Gonzalez and Liv.
Come on, Tony. Don't. Hey, give me the ones that I got. I didn't get very many.
You got 7. But I think the one we all got wrong was the Cody Roman. I mean, I was really hoping.
I think the whole world got that one wrong.
Yeah. I think so too. But, anyways, it's always kind of fun when we don't get guests, although it was really unfortunate because he actually ghosted us.
Yes.
If I would have thought about it, I would have prepared and maybe got a backup guest. But anytime, Panda, you want to come on and do like a spot as a guest host, you're more than welcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We can always send you a link. You guys can always, the guys need a girl in there to keep them in line sometimes,
Yeah, please feel free to slap the host around.
And please believe me, I won't give you as hard a time as I gave the last lady that was on the podcast. At least the owner that was on the podcast.
Oh, so now he's recognizing Yvonne as an owner, and he's forgetting the other Tony.
He did agree to take a kendo stick shot, though, which I was quite amazed by.
And I still will. I still stand by that.
And that's the one thing Pandemonium and I have in common, and our beloved host has no clue on, is soccer.
Oh, that was her. That was her fiance, I think, that was yelling in the back.
Yeah, that's the guy that paid me off.
Yeah. But to be honest, that was one of Pat's favorite sports was soccer. I can do the Special Olympic soccer. I just don't know if I could ever sit through an actual soccer match. And again, I haven't really gotten into hockey yet either. So
I can just see Nathan going around on the hockey rink and trying to hit the puck.
No, my chair doesn't have traction on ice.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. I can see you trying to hit the puck and you hitting the wall.
Speaking of the team, who's your team there, Panda? Because I know I know you asked SOS that. So your soccer team, who's your team? I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've actually been inside an indoor soccer venue, but we did a wrestling show out of it instead up in Rainier.
Ooh. Ooh. I don't know where Trey went.
Well, I bet he didn't go very far on his own.
And he's probably playing hide and go seek from great grandma and grandpa. So let's see here. This is a segment of the show that I like to do. So for our 3 guests in attendance, it's open forum. Ask the hosts any question that you want, and they have to answer it.
Yep.
Oh, we've got 4 guests now.
So you want to repeat that statement for the guest that just jumped on?
It's open forum in the chat box. What do you want to talk about? Any questions asked, the host and co-host have to answer. If they don't, they get deleted. Okay. I'll start. Maybe. I'm trying to think how I can do this. Mr. Noss, why'd our guest ghost us tonight?
I have absolutely no idea.
Probably because he knew you disrespected a woman and he ran away.
Just because I said she'd break a nail, which she probably will. I don't understand how saying truthful facts is disrespectful.
Better be careful, that there are moms in the room.
But it's okay, because I'm pretty sure I can find her a manicurist and a makeup artist for when she does try to swing that kendo stick. So that way she can get it all fixed up.
All right, Mr. Host, I'm going to have to remove you for a few minutes. He's going to come out, I have a feeling. Yes, probably at some point that stick will probably come out. I'm hoping it'll be at the Strawberry Fest that he actually gets to come up in. And I know we offered this to Miss SOS, but you're in the room tonight too, Miss Panda. If you ever want to travel and wrestle outside of Colorado, I know a promoter in Washington that would love to have you.
Ooh, she's got a good question too.
Yep.
Favorite singles wrestler of all time and why?
She's researched you boys, hasn't she?
Of all time. That's
Go, host. You're not gonna go first? Okay, I'll go first. I'll go with the late. I'll go with the late great Dusty Rhodes. And
I'm
why?
going to have to go with
who can't like a guy with yellow polka dots who's never had a true chance at a world heavyweight championship. Okay, Pat, you're next.
I have to go with someone that I have met when I was a kid.
You're walking on thin ice too.
The late great Rowdy Piper.
That's another good choice.
I've also met Roddy Piper, but I'm going to go with Macho Man Randy Savage.
And the reason why I chose Rowdy Piper was I love the fact that he wrote his own storylines.
Okay, for giving reasons. The reason I liked that I went with Randy Savage is twofold. One, because he had such longevity in the wrestling business. And two, he didn't let what other people told him stop him from doing what he was doing. And what I'm talking about, when Vince McMahon told him in 95 that he was done wrestling and he was just going to be a commentator, he said, screw that, went to WCW and basically probably had one of his better runs.
So, Mr. Host, do you think I should debut the Monday set today since she's in the room with us?
Well, I might as well.
All right. That's our Monday banner for the entire show. That for the entire show, that'll be our banner. being debuted here tonight. Oh, better be careful. Killian might be watching. I better change it.
You're
And
welcome, Pandemonium.
Yes, you're more than welcome.
and don't worry, Panda. I've got a special one for Killian too.
Please tell me not one of them's gonna be like, "You got beat by a girl."
Yep.
Mr. Killian, if you're listening, that is the view of only the executive producer, and I can give you his address if you need it.
You gotta remember who approves all this stuff. Not me. It's the host. But you're
This is
absolutely
back on me.
you're absolutely welcome. You deserve it. I heard it was a hard fought battle and a hard fought win. I was going to wait and ask Mr. Rude to spoil it for me, but I actually went back and saw clips of the Rumble in itself, and then that interview and that beautiful belt that they gave you at the end
Yes.
of it. But hopefully you'll get your championship here very, very soon, and you and SOS can be the champions of this podcast. So with that being said, everybody, tomorrow afternoon, we have two very important, actually, hey guys, who has been your favorite interview as of so far?
Ooh, that's a good question. We've done some good ones.
Mine hasn't happened yet. I've liked them all the same. My favorite one hasn't happened yet.
I have to agree with Tony. My favorite one has not happened yet either.
Although we've had some pretty good guests. I mean, Gino was very awesome.
Vertical was
Mine-
amazing.
On the risk of not offending anybody, and I am looking forward to all of our upcoming interviews, especially Mondays. But mine, because I finally got to unleash a heel character, and really kind of cut loose on a promo, was probably with Yvonne.
Yeah. But anyway. You two, we'll talk to you on Monday unless we see you before. Good
Yep.
night, little one. Listen to your mama.
Definitely.
Have a good night.
And with that being said, I think we're going to close this out also tonight. So, in closing, Pat, you look wonderful as usual.
Thank you.
Nathan, go get a flea dip. And please, everybody, help control the pet population. By God, please have your host spayed or neutered. Peace.